Good afternoon, everybody.
Hey.
Welcome to the second episode of Tuesday.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes, you can hear Goyo,
I'm
but
very
you can. There he is.
excited.
Yes,
Very
hello.
Yeah.
He
So,
gave up his seat for, of course, our very special guest today.
why can't you join? No, it's okay. It's okay. There.
Ayaw talaga niya.
Yeah, we have room.
No, it's okay.
Sorry.
So we're here with Dr. James Jimenez, the director for Education Information Department of the Commission on Elections, and we're here to discuss the preparations for the 2022 election and the registration.
Yes.
Procedures. Yeah.
Yes. Do you have a new program now, James?
Yes, we do.
iRegistro.
Yes.
iRegistro.
What is iRegistro?
Oh, wait. iRegistro is online filling up of forms. So you know how when you register, you have to go to the Comelec office, you have to queue up, get a form, etc., etc. All of that takes about 90% of the time that you spend in the Comelec office, filling up the standing in queue, filling up the form, and so on. You cut that out with iRegistro because you do all of that online. You get the form online, you fill it up online. Basically, what happens is you're faced with a series of questions and some fields that you have to fill out, just like any online form nowadays. And it outputs a printed form that looks like our application registration form. So you take that and then you bring it to the Comelec office, so that when you finally get to the Comelec office, all you have to do is give your biometrics. So basically, if you were spending like 30 minutes before, you can cut that down to around 5 minutes.
So,
Safer.
to clarify, because there's a misconception that if you do iRegistro, there's no need for you to go to the Comelec office anymore.
Unfortunately,
So no
that's
matter
not
what,
true. Yeah.
you still have to go, but at least the time is cut short.
That's right. That's right. The thing is, you don't want to spend so much time in
Yes.
the Comelec office, right? I mean, because
Well, especially anywhere in public nowadays.
exactly, because the longer you spend outside, especially in areas where there's potentially a crowd going on, then you're increasing your chance of exposure, right? And I'm very happy to say that since September 1, we've had 0 incidences of transmission in our Comelec offices, and we want to keep it that way. So
Impressive.
so that's what we're doing with iRegistro.
Okay, so how long is iRegistro going on? Again, like what's the registration period for everyone to get their registration done?
Well, registration period is until September 2021, September 30, 2021. So we've got roughly 10 months left.
Okay.
10 months left, and that's actually not very okay,
Yeah.
because right now since we started September 1, right?
Yes.
Okay. So up to now, we've only had a little over 600,000 registrants. A little over 600,000.
Wow.
Pre-COVID,
Yeah.
600,000 was like two cities in NCR.
Yeah.
That's it. That was it. But now, nationwide, you only have around 600,000 registrants. And that's a problem because we're expecting to register around 4 million new registrants.
Oh, that's nowhere near.
Right? That's nowhere near now.
Yeah.
Okay, can I just say, the Filipino has a penchant for doing everything last minute.
That's true.
one of the reasons.
The
one of the
RFID.
causes.
Wala pa nga akong RFID.
Well,
Okay.
the thing is, the whole point is, we already are not efficient enough, and then we still put it off.
Right.
So it doubles the problem.
Right.
So I also think do we have enough information dissemination about registering? Before COVID, we had already started registering, right?
That's right.
When
that's
was
right.
that?
We started.
For the record.
We started January.
Of 2020.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
it's still just at 600.
Yeah.
1,000.
Only 600,000.
Oh.
Okay, just to address that point.
Okay.
Number one, it's true that people do have a tendency to
Yeah.
wait until the last minute,
Yeah.
which is a problem. It used to be annoying, but now it's deadly, right?
Yeah.
Because if you like descend on the Comelec office in droves, then you're spiking really the potential for transmission. So that's very dangerous, and that's something that we don't want to happen. The other thing that we have to consider now is that a lot of people do know about registration, but they are afraid to go out.
Yes.
In the
actually.
first 2 weeks, in the first 2 months actually of voter registration, people were under the impression that they couldn't even go out to register because bawal.
Yes.
Sabi ng IATF, if you're
ECQ,
21 and if you're 20 and below,
Yes.
then you can go out. If you're 65 and above, you
Yeah.
can go out. And those are the two biggest categories that we have of registrants: the youth and senior citizens.
Yeah.
Senior citizens are really eager to register because some of them can't get ayuda otherwise, right? So yun yung pinakamalaking market
And
mo
you're
ngayon.
right. The age in between normally is already registered.
Exactly. So it's these two extremes
Yeah.
that are being targeted, that were actually
Yeah.
the subject of this mobility restriction. So the first 2 months, people were afraid. People were afraid of actually
Sounds fishy.
of actually going.
Yeah.
But when we brought that out, when we raised a little stink about that, IATF was good enough to remove those
Yeah.
restrictions, and so now we're seeing a slight increase, which is good, but it's not good enough yet,
Yeah.
right? So next year we're hoping to have more satellite registrations. So we're rolling out iRehistro first, and then by next year, hopefully, we'll have enough areas under MGCQ that we can hold satellite registration. Satellite registrations have always been the big drawers.
Yes,
They're
correct.
always the big ones that bring in the biggest numbers. And well, people are impatient for that already, in fact.
Maybe they're waiting for that because
Yun
I
na nga eh.
remember I was already registered before, but something happened regarding checking the biometrics online
Yeah.
and everything. Like I was missing some part, and I had to just go back, and I had lined up in a mall.
Exactly.
So I think
exactly.
that's more convenient also for a lot of people.
Actually, it is. Actually, it is. And in fact, malls have been, or mall owners have been approaching us already.
Okay.
The problem is that we have like two requirements that are very sticky. Number one, dapat dun sa area kung saan magaganap yung satellite registration, dapat 0 cases of COVID for the last 14 days.
Okay.
Medyo that's a little stiff, right? And second, they're gonna have to comply with community health standards, which means there's gonna be a community health officer who's gonna look over the place and make sure that everything's okay. So these two requirements, they're already in place right now. I mean, they're the requirements right now, but no one can meet them as of yet. Hopefully by January, with more areas under MGCQ, well, then we hope that we'll have better luck. But certainly, it's something that has to happen very soon.
Yeah.
Konti ng papalisto.
And this also depends on the city that you're in, because obviously there are a lot of measures being put in place depending on the LGU. For example, Pasig. Pasig is going to start requiring everyone to have the Pasig
Yes,
pass.
right.
So you can register for that.
Yes,
So
for
even if
that.
you're
Yeah.
even if you're a non-Pasig
Non-resident,
resident,
yeah.
you still have to have that Pasig pass every time you enter an
Enter
establishment.
Pasig, yeah.
So maybe like just double check with your city,
LGU,
with your
yeah.
LGU, if there are going to be specific requirements for you to be allowed to enter certain establishments.
How much does that cost? Is that gonna
That
cost
is a
like
great question. I was only sent the link. I will send it to you
I
later.
also have
No,
that.
because I have concerns about that. Because I mean, people they can come to our office to register into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Pasig,
think it should be free though.
That
Right,
was like
right.
announced last week.
Yeah.
right, the LGUs have been very good naman at helping the Comelec out, and I think this is something that we can figure out fairly quickly. But that's the thing. That's just my initial impression of it, that it might actually pack on a cost to voter registration, something we don't do.
Okay, so should we bring up what we discussed last week?
Sure, go
Goyo
ahead.
and check regarding ID.
Okay.
Very basic, but it's very important because people have different connotations of what kind of ID is needed,
Yeah.
and that was raised directly to us even on Twitter. That it would like it's like chicken or the egg. How do you get this ID without this other ID, and like
Right.
getting your birth certificate, and they're always concerned about costs. But sometimes it's like you just really have to invest.
Yeah,
Like
that's true.
we cannot do anything further than the 300. They're saying the 300 plus for the birth certificate. But aside from that,
Oh, is it really 300 plus?
Yeah, yeah.
Mahal pa lang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a little
yeah.
pricey considering
Yeah.
the year that
Well,
everyone's had.
Ask for it as a Christmas gift from your Nino.
Yeah, pwede na yan.
Kaya nga, di ba? Parang gano'n.
Oo.
Okay, because
Parang
we-
masterclass lang, diba?
Yeah.
You-
No, but aside from that, we're like there's a about do you need an ID or not? Because somebody actually, Guy was saying you can establish residency in some ways, but somebody was telling us that somebody actually from
Yeah,
the
that's true.
Comelec said they needed an ID with the address on it. So which is true?
Okay, first of all, you do need a valid ID, not a voter ID, a valid ID to establish your identity and your residence. Okay, it's the identity and the residence. For instance, a passport is considered a valid ID because obviously it's issued to the DFA, right? It's a government issued ID. Unfortunately, it will not have your address or your residence information. So normally, if you present a passport, you will be asked to provide some other form of residence proof, right? Like
Billing.
billing,
Yeah.
exactly. Or if you are renting in the city where you're registering, then a lease contract with your name on it, that will do, right? Okay. Second, unfortunately, the reality is maybe 80% of the population really will not have any legitimate ID. You're talking about the housewives, you're talking about the house help, you're talking about kids, youth also, right? So marami talaga. It's sometimes a little difficult for people to grasp yung walang ID, but it's a real problem. So what we do is, if a person
They're 20 and 21. They have passports. They'll bring that. Then there's a Meralco bill in my name. So I go with them.
Sure. And that'll be
So
good.
people, that's an example.
Right.
The parent can accompany the children and
Absolutely.
make a day of it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Make a day of it.
Yeah.
That's what we always say. Make a plan for registration
Yeah.
because nowadays, it's easy to skip registration because it's like, lalabas ka pa, mask ka,
Yeah.
ka. So make a day of it. Go with the kids and vouch for their information. Incidentally, you could also use their driver's licenses. That's accepted.
Yeah, that has an address.
Driver's license and ano ba? School IDs.
School ID.
School IDs, as long as it's for the term, for this term,
Okay.
right? Then you can use that as well.
I don't know if they had a school ID for this.
I don't know either.
Because my daughter's in
My school IDs were
college
never.
in Quezon City.
Yeah.
Right. I think for college, di ba parang lalagyan nila ng sticker
Nang
yan?
sticker lang.
Just
So
to
pwede na
validate
yun.
lang. Pwede yan.
Oh, yeah.
As long as it's validated for this term.
Yeah, okay. So,
Library card nga pwede.
yeah. So, yeah. Oh, yun. Kasi number one, talaga, to start with, yung mindset natin. Let's adjust. Iba na talaga ngayon. So,
Sobra.
mahirap talaga yung resistant ka sa
Right.
change. Sometimes change is good and sometimes you don't have a choice. But it's Tuesday. So we are trying to get you to make that choice, to not give up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, be creative, find ways, keep talking, keep the discussion going, find out from your, if you find out stuff from your friends, then that means you've got good friends.
Absolutely.
But if you don't learn anything from them, ditch them.
That's what we always
Yes.
say. It's not enough that you know it yourself. You have to share it with others.
Yeah,
You
and
have to share it
ask.
with
And
others.
ask. You can't, as Francis would say, I'm not a mind reader. Let me know what bothers you, what your
Yes.
concerns are, so I can
Exactly.
address it.
And speaking of asking, while we have James with us today,
Sure.
please don't be afraid to ask because we already have the experts joining us.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
please tweet us. It's at Checklit
Ayan,
for
may
me,
question.
at Pia
Pia Magalona.
Magalona,
Yeah.
at Goyo, Larrazabal, at Goy.
Double Y.
Ano ba? What's your Twitter account?
Because
Goy
it's a
Y
middle name.
Larrazabal.
Goy Larrazabal. And then of course, James is at
Jab
Jab
Jimenez.
Jimenez with a J.
Okay, here's a question. From Tina. How can the young
No, I think knowledge. They should be already active about, just signing up, like looking forward to when they turn 18. I think they should already have that. They should have a mindset, the
Right.
proper mindset.
And
So they
it
look
really
for-
starts at home as well.
Yeah, it starts at
in the
home.
sense that like kids should be aware that their decisions can impact the nation at some point.
Yes.
Absolutely. But well, if you're talking about 10 years old, then
Yeah,
you have
that's
to-
what-
you're gonna have to be age appropriate, right? I mean, but start by giving them the power to decide certain
Yeah.
things. Like if
Tama
you're talking
yan.
about 10 years old,
Yes.
tell them, if you want to wear a Snoopy outfit today, then fine. But
It's cute, Snoopy, yeah.
but if
Defensive.
but if people
May Snoopy outfit yan.
You have no
Defensive.
say, you're
Defensive bigla eh.
You're not 10 to 20.
but the point is that right? If you want to wear those outfits, then there's a consequence. But you made the choice, so sige, go ahead. So you start them out with making small decisions because ultimately, democracy is about making decisions. And the sooner you get into the habit of deciding things, the better for you. Why? Because it takes practice, man. I mean, sometimes you decide on the basis of a whim, and unless you get burned, you really don't know how to choose better next time.
Yeah, so
If you start young and you get all of that whimsy out, all of that kittenish play out, then you're in a better
Life
position.
stages. That's
Exactly.
called life stages.
Exactly.
So stuff has to happen at the right time in a certain
Yeah.
because part of decision making is part of maturity.
Mhm.
So
Absolutely.
I got bothered actually by those like adulting. It's like, didn't you know you were gonna become a certain age at a certain time
I
in
know,
your life?
it's really stupid actually when people say that.
Yeah, I don't want to talk that way. See, I'm holding back, but James can do it. He's our special guest. So I'm being like really proper about things, although it really gets my goat. A lot of things get my goat. So
Yeah, I mean the first time you hear it, it's cute,
Yeah.
right? It's funny. But if it becomes like a common excuse,
Yeah.
it's like, for God's sakes, man, get over yourself.
yes. Correct. Deal with it.
And learning how to use a can opener isn't adulting, dude.
No,
It's,
it's basic.
It's basically.
It's called-
Oh, really? Because I have grandchildren who are already in the 10 to 20
Yeah.
category, and I'm very happy that their parents, empower them also,
Yeah.
and because if you grow up to be the kind of adult who is just always waiting for other people to decide, and you know how it's like, where do you want to eat, and then like it's just always mom or dad who's making a decision, right?
Yeah.
Well, in ours, it's like when Francis would say, "This family's a democracy," so it's like, okay, let's vote on where we're gonna eat.
Right.
It's like it becomes like it also like gives you a chance to become closer to each
Exactly.
other. Yeah.
And the other thing that reminded me of is that in a democracy, people lose.
Yeah.
Not everyone
Doesn't
wins.
mean you're gonna get your way.
It doesn't mean you're gonna
actually,
get your way all
but
the
you
time.
practice.
So understand that. If you want to empower your kids, then give them these tools. Give them the tools to decide, and give them the ability to take a loss. Like if you have a brother and sister combination, and one of them wants to watch a rom-com for movie night, for instance,
Yeah.
you can't have the kid sulking off somewhere, right?
Yeah, and walking out.
And walking out. So
That is so rude.
so that's when you start to empower them, and it may not seem like that connected to elections because elections is politics. I mean, but hello, the bedrock is the same.
Yes.
It's decision making,
Yeah.
and it's living with the choices that you make.
Correct.
That's very cool.
Okay, so of course we are open to more of your questions that James will answer.
Yeah, sure. While we have him.
While we have James, so please keep sending your questions in.
And he's not gonna be here for 24 hours.
No, he's not. But
So-
hopefully we can get him back on the show because we only have 1 hour each week. But so let's get back to the registration because that obviously is something that we need to get people to start doing already.
That's right.
Yun na nga, it was brought up kanina that there's a tendency to wait until it's closer to the deadline. But at this point, obviously, not everyone can leave their homes. You're offering online ways to register. How important is it for people to actually register early? We know it's important to register, but
Yeah.
why early?
But it's important to register early because what you really want to do is avoid the crowds. The longer you wait, the more people are gonna be trying to get in there with you. Like, let's just use a common example na lang. You RFID. You RFID before you could go anywhere and get it anywhere, no hassle, no problem. You're done in 10 minutes. Pero ngayon,
Yeah.
ang pila,
Yeah.
naabot ka ng 4 na oras, right? And now, all of a sudden, people are cramming, people are trying to get in there, and they're getting hot-headed, and they're getting angry. When the reality is, if they had done it earlier,
Should've-
then they would have spared themselves the trouble. Now, recently they sort of like set up an appointment system. So suddenly the crowds vanish na naman. And then it's gonna happen again. Funny story. Um, I think about 2016, just before the 2016 elections, a rumor went around that we were cutting off registration in a week's time. Nagdagsaan yung mga tao sa Quezon City specifically. No? So I went there. I was wondering what's wrong with this. No? Medyo may 8 months pa tayo. So when I said, ay hindi pa po tayo magde-deadline, nawala lahat ng tao. They were there,
Umalis.
pero hindi pa deadline. So nag-alisan sila lahat.
Hindi na tinapos.
Hindi na tinapos.
So, but again, 8 months later, the same people were back, and they were angry.
And
Bakit
still,
hindi pa-
yeah.
and still angry. So, so it's funny. But it's incredibly
not funny.
annoying. It's not funny. It's not funny. So
It's
register
dangerous,
early.
really, because
And now it's
you
dangerous.
you miss the chance. You know,
Mm.
when is the next? After this, when is the next? Let them know.
Matagal pa.
Oh.
Because after this ends September 30,
Yeah.
2021, then you're gonna have to go through the entire elections pa.
Mhm.
So baka June or July pa 2022. And then it's only gonna be for a month or so
Yeah,
because
tas magmamadali na.
we're gonna have barangay elections
Yeah.
Christmas pa nun. So we have 2 elections in 2022. Not a lot of people are talking about that, no? But that's the reality of it. Which means that in the interim between those 2 elections, you're gonna have 2, maybe 3 months of registration.
Wala, that's not enough time.
Huh?
Yeah.
That's not enough time.
It's not enough time. When is the next like this again? Like stretch.
Siguro 2023 na.
Oh, para we can say for the
After the
record,
elections na.
we warned.
Yeah.
So,
And then how long
pointless
is that?
na nun.
2023 to 2020.
Well, it
Well-
depends kung may elections pa tayo. No?
Mm.
Kidding joke. No, but normally in between national and local elections, you have about 2 years to register.
Oh, that's not long.
That's not
Also,
long, that's
yeah.
Okay, so if you fail to vote in 2 elections,
Yeah.
Yes.
are you still allowed to vote, or do you have to register again?
Yeah, you're still allowed to vote, except that your registration is deactivated. It's like you're still on the list,
Mhm.
and technically you're still a voter, but your registration is dormant. It's tulog.
So how do you
Right? So
wake
you
it
can't
up?
vote. Right? So you wake it up with a reactivation. You file an application for reactivation. It looks like registration, but it isn't registration because you're just basically activating your registration. So it's called a reactivation. It's very
Does this
simple.
also appearance? You have to be
Yes,
there.
yes.
Okay.
But we're working on removing the physical appearance requirement for that.
Kasi you have your biometrics and
Yeah, the problem kasi is all of our registration laws are based on personal appearance. 8189, Republic Act 8189. But, so syempre may pandemic, the law isn't very quick to catch up. So, bawal pa rin yan.
Yeah.
But there is a pending bill right now in the Senate, I believe, that allows for online registration. So that might happen before the year ends. So hopefully by next year, things like transfer of registration
Oh, yeah.
or reactivation. Basta yung nandun na yung biometrics mo,
Yeah.
baka hindi na kailangan ng personal appearance. But don't wait for that, guys.
Yeah.
I mean,
We're not sure
gosh.
about that.
Oh, hindi yan sure. It's working. It's happening. I mean, in Congress, but these things take time. So if you have free time now, then register now. We are from Monday to Thursday. Well, obviously not yesterday because of holiday.
Holiday. Yeah.
Holiday. No, actually, holidays bukas kami. Monday to Thursday.
But kahapon it was
Bukas pa.
Okay.
Monday to Thursday, from 8 in the morning to 3 p.m.
Okay. So why not Friday?
Disinfection day.
Okay.
Very nice.
LGUs disinfect every Friday.
Why not Saturday, Sunday? Joke.
Well, that's
Sophia!
no, that's a valid
Alam mo,
question.
pag dumami kayo na mag-register, baka mag-adjust, di ba? Mag-open ng days.
That's a valid
But
question.
maybe they see na that's enough. Paano it's so short na 8 to 3?
Mhm.
So that means
Yeah.
konti lang talaga
Konti lang talaga.
nag-register.
But the problem is kasi even when we have Saturdays, people still don't come.
Yun nga eh,
Okay.
sayang
Still
lang.
don't come. So medyo overtime yan.
And
right
overhead.
now, right now, here's the thing that COVID is affecting also is that if you can't pay your people to work overtime,
Yeah.
then the offices are gonna stay closed.
Yeah.
Kaya medyo delikado rin.
Yeah, tama yan.
So to everyone out there who is planning to register, do you have any tips on how to make their lives easier from the iRegistro all the way to ending up at the Comelec offices?
Well, the first thing I would recommend is that they make an appointment. You'd be
Online?
surprised. Well, it's either online or you call ahead.
You can.
You can
Okay.
call ahead.
Is that legal? Is that
That's
called
legal. That's
legal?
legal. You
That's
can
called
apply for
legal.
team. Sa MS Word, they call our size folio.
Yeah.
Folio yan, 8.5 by 13. Pero sa Pilipinas, legal yan. Sa Pilipinas, yan ang tawag.
So
yung tawag
tama.
mo legal.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Legal is the correct.
Well,
For the
Philippine legal,
13.
Philippine legal.
But
Sa
basically,
akin.
just say long
Yeah,
run.
Yeah, just say long back
Long
paper.
back.
Long back
paper.
long back paper.
And it has to be 20 GSM.
What's
Diba?
that?
Yeah,
Sheet
important
of
yan.
paper?
Yeah,
Yeah,
see? Look at all these tips,
Oh my
guys!
gosh!
Yan yung sinasabi sa Twitter na parang hindi lahat ng tao may access
Yeah.
sa ganito.
Oo. Yung totoo yan. Yung 20 GSM, it just sounds technical, but it's actually just your...
Hindi yan iniinom na GSM.
Hindi yan. Coupon bond yan. Ha?
Ako-
What is that? Anyway.
What is your question?
Wala.
Nothing
Hi there,
lang.
Attorney Goyo.
Hi,
Yes.
Goyo.
Tell your friends.
Yes, tell your friends.
So yeah, what else? What's the tips pa? For
May
printing.
may pinadala sa akin cheat sheets yan.
Yeah.
Goyo. How long
Goyo
does
din
it
pala.
take to finish the process of applying as a voter? Okay, two things that you need to remember here. Number one, it is really just an application for registration. It's not, technically speaking, a finished process. No? When you submit your application for registration, that's all you've done. You've submitted an application. Hindi pa kayo rehistradong botante at that point. Okay? Kasi yung application ninyo, dadaan pa yan sa tinatawag natin Election Registration Board or yung ERB. The ERB is the body that decides whether or not your application will be accepted.
Okay.
So, parehistro ka ngayon, yung application mo will go to the next ERB, which happens quarterly, so every 3 months. And then only then, pag pumasa ka sa ERB, doon ka lang registered voter. So if I'm gonna be a stickler for technicalities here, yung question ko, how long does it take? It takes you anywhere from maybe 3 months to longer. Okay? Okay. But yung process of submitting the application, that's quick. That takes you about maybe, again, just the process itself, 5 to 10 minutes if you're not adding the queuing time. No? And then, doon sa 5 minutes na yun, the most important thing that you can do there is biometrics gathering. That's where they take a picture of your face, you give their fingerprint, no? There's an electronic fingerprint taker, and an impression of your signature. You sign on a signature pad, and the computer captures the stroke that you use. No? Para may picture kami ng inyong pirma. So, hindi po yan digital signature, just to be very clear. It's just a picture ng application, very quick. Pero yung process for actually becoming a registered voter might take a little waiting time. But don't worry. Pag hindi naman kayo sinulatan ng Comelec office after you register, after you submit, good ka na. No? Kasi the ERB needs to hold a hearing if they're gonna deny you. So it means if someone says, si Pia hindi yan eligible, you have to get a letter from us saying appear before the ERB and basically defend yourself.
case,
Right?
So no news is good news.
No news is good
Okay.
news.
I was gonna ask that.
That's very good.
How do we find out that we are?
Hey, you're old na ha. Gary Ganu.
How do we know that we are a voter already? We give kasi our email and our
Yeah.
phone number.
Yeah. Right now there is no feedback from the Comelec office except to post the list of approved applicants.
Okay, good.
So you can go check, no? And then siguro mga 6 months before the election, punta ka lang sa office ng Comelec.
Pero the online.
Wala pa yan.
Wala pa.
Wala yan.
Because our coming old registrant,
Yeah, 6
tayong
months
old.
before. I know.
we see it there na, no?
Right, mga 6 months before the election.
I like
Bukas
looking
kami
at that eh.
ng precinct finder. And
Oh,
that's why
yeah,
you can
correct,
shop.
correct. Okay, so you see it, you go back to the comment.
You go back to the Comelec office to check
Around
if you want
when?
to check. Siguro give it around, kasi quarterly mo na yung ERB eh. So if you registered early in the quarter, then 3 months later pa, hintayin mo pa yan matapos.
Quarter from when you,
Re-
let's say,
Yeah, kunyari, so it's
Itong December.
January, February, March. May ERB hearing ng March.
Yeah.
Right? March, April, June. Right, in June. So if you registered just as an example, you're in May, then end of June, pwede ka na mag-check. But if you registered February, then you have to wait a little longer, right? So yeah.
Those
It's a
who
quarterly.
went to the nearest deadline, I mean the last deadline, which is September 30, when do they find out?
If closest to the quarterly, then you wait for about a month.
Really?
Yeah, just a month.
Okay,
Mabilis
ganun
lang
pala,
naman
the
yan.
set quarter.
But the problem lang kasi is that, yun na nga, the whole process is so painfully analog ba? Diba? Kasi nga, luma naman yung batas, 81, 89.
Yes.
That was in the 80s pa ata, diba, sir? So, medyo, it's got a long way to go, but hopefully, with this new online registration law, we'll be in a better position to improve certain things. Actually, that's one of the things that I keep telling people about the pandemic. You know, it's terrible, it's tragic, etc. But it's also giving us an opportunity to rework
Yes,
everything.
correct.
No? Yung new normal, it sounds ridiculous when you say it's new normal, pero it's a reality.
It's a reality.
It's an opportunity as well. You know, to make new systems that are more efficient.
Efficient.
I think.
Because people cannot risk being out and
Exactly.
being in line for hours and waiting and all that. So at least if there's one bright,
Yeah.
teeny tiny bright spot.
Which
This
is
the
actually,
pandemic.
even without the pandemic, this is what we should have been doing, right?
Absolutely.
Upgrading. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. Pero kasi
Now we're just forced to
without
do
the pandemic kasi parang yung inertia sobrang
Yeah.
lakas eh. Diba? Parang walang nag-uudyok
An
sa'yo
object
to
at
make any
rest
change.
stays at rest.
Exactly. So inertia talaga siya. But with the pandemic, that's one way of looking at it so that you're not overwhelmed. I think one of the biggest problems in the pandemic is really despair. People get depressed.
Yes,
People
yes.
get trod down because of what's going on. But one way to look at it is as an opportunity
Yes.
also to make things better. Same thing with your elected officials. You know, the coming elections is an opportunity to get a better set of officials. Or look, in all fairness, if you're happy with the ones you've got,
Yeah.
keep them there, right? So
Yeah, and let them know. Let
Yeah,
them
let
know
them
that
know.
they're doing a good job
it's fair.
so that they upgrade themselves even more.
Exactly.
And also, nakakahawa rin yan, no?
Tama.
For the people naman who are under them.
Tama, tama. So, yun na nga. So, this is the opportunity that you're looking for. It's not just change for change's sake. It's really for the betterment of everything.
Ako, I like change for the better.
Change
Yeah.
for the better is great.
Yeah.
But again, like I said, we have to be big tent and everything.
Yes.
If you're happy with the way things are, then mabuhay ka. And this is your chance to make sure that it stays in place.
Basta you make your voice heard. That's what's
Yes.
important, di ba?
Yeah.
You might like a person or might not like him or her. Make your voice heard.
But like what I said, we are doing this to improve ourselves as individuals. This is
Yes.
not the country owes us anything or
Sure.
what, but having this mindset and all, it's like it's really what you're supposed to be striving for.
Yeah.
So self-improvement, whether the official is there or not. So part of that, it's a good opportunity to have self-improvement if you practice registering to vote, and then also your family, your friends, they also see that, they also copy what you do, so you become an influencer to them.
Absolutely.
A good
Absolutely.
influencer.
That's also what I was tweeting prior to this episode because we were talking about what this episode would be about. And, it's basically what is our role in this democracy? What's our role going to be in the coming elections? So as, obviously from the Comelec standpoint, like what would you say is an individual's role?
Okay. Apart from making sure that the experiment, you're hoping that they put good people in office. So technically speaking, that's an experiment. But that experiment can be swayed one way or the other by people who try to influence the outcome of the elections. And individually, we have the right, the duty, and the opportunity to make sure that those influences are kept at bay. Okay? What am I talking about? Recently, we just celebrated the Media and Information Literacy Week, or MIL. And the whole purpose of MIL is to make sure that we are all empowered to fight against disinformation. And disinformation is the single most critical problem that we're facing now. Pagdating sa pandemya, yes, it's a problem. Walang problema dyan. But disinformation becomes very rampant because the pandemic has forced all of us to go into the online world more than offline. Campaigns are going to happen online, conversations are going to happen online. And when you spend most of your time online, like on Facebook, for instance, you're going to get bombarded by all of these strands of disinformation. Ang dali kasing gumawa ng disinformation ngayon eh. Ang dali maglabas ng balita. Like for instance, if I were to say now na, oh, bukas cancel na yung registration at wala na tayong registration. All it needs is someone to take me out of context, make a graphic, and then spread it far and wide, and the next thing you know, 3 people down, people who didn't watch this show, will be hearing that James Jimenez said, cancel na yung elections or cancel na yung registration. Automatic disinformation na yan. So,
some people like doing that, though.
Oh, some people like doing that.
Oh,
absolutely. Right. So that's the thing. As individuals, you fight against disinformation and make sure that the experiment works as it should. Okay? Not to guarantee an outcome, but to make sure that people are voting with informed consent, intelligently, and with a clear view of what they're going to, what they want to achieve, which is good governance for everyone. So, long-winded answer, no? Sorry.
No, that's fine.
But that's it. That's the individual's role. Prior to this, we would say, voter vigilance, bantayan mo yung vote buying, etc. All of these things are still real. But more critical now is this fight against disinformation. In 2019, one of the things that we had to contend with, 2016, one of the things we had to contend with was this video that came out. People were talking in Maranao. Okay? So it's not a common language that you hear every day. And the caption said that ang pinag-uusapan dito is that ibabae daw bumoto tapos ang lumabas na resibo, iba yung pangalan lumalabas. So yun yung caption ng video. That spread like wildfire. People believed it, people thought that it's ngayon. And no one bothered to translate what was being said in Maranao. And get this, not even the big networks did. So they were sharing this indiscriminately. They were sharing this, and then anchors were referring to this video in those breathless, oh my God, oh my God! Ganyan, no? So, kalokohan eh. But when I had the whole Maranao dialogue translated, what it actually was saying was that, look, you voted for X. Tingnan mo, yung lumabas sa resibo si X, di ba? And the people were actually cheering the machine.
Oh. But you just changed the caption.
You changed the caption, so all of a sudden it says something different.
That's true.
Yeah.
And that was a big problem. The same thing happened in 2019. In 2019, what happened naman was that there was a video of a woman rifling through a stack of what looked like practice ballots. We have a lot of those.
Yeah.
Pero syempre, yung caption is, babae, tinitingnan yung balota, ganyan. So all of a sudden, may cheating na nagaganap.
Eh, dapat wala nang may access doon.
Oh, dapat wala nang may access doon. But, see, I knew it was practice ballots
because
I'm from Comelec, you know? So I have like that insider insight. Pero paano na lang ordinary tao? Na ang info lang is doon nang nagaling. And one of the things that really ticked me off is that someone said, oh, I'm just sharing, you decide.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I don't know if this is correct, but I'm sharing so you can check if it's
Yeah,
true.
yeah.
Ganun.
Sorry,
That's
that
bullshit.
drives me crazy. I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Yeah, your turn.
It made
I don't know if it's true, but
We've made a
I
living
think
out
you
of
should
checking
know.
sources and
Exactly.
Yeah.
like
So
interviewing people.
that's what we are also trying to say. That make
Yes.
your mindset should be such that you always check. And in everything, even in our chat groups, in our daily whatever with our friends, we share a lot of like things that probably are only interesting to just us. Let's say, may I mention K-drama and stuff like that.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah, but still, you can also put, the somebody in danger there by passing the wrong news.
Sure.
So we also educate those of us who are not too savvy about the industry, and then we tell them that that's just somebody started that because like saying that they're dating or they're already together or they actually have a child and she's on the like all of this whole story, and then we're like, no, this is how it works. So all we want you to do is tell that group of friends that that is not true. So at least
Exactly.
so make it automatic that you think before you click, you check before. Yeah, so research.
A lot, and let's be real here, a lot of us also get carried away by emotions.
Yeah,
I
Absolutely.
remember the last time this happened to me, and I immediately deleted kasi nadala lang talaga ako ng emotions and everything. I saw this tweet saying, Brock Turner, the Stanford rapist, well, he was, parang he was chosen as a speaker for a convention, blah blah blah. So I just blacked out because I was so pissed off. So I retweeted and said, "Yeah, kadira, ganyan, blah blah blah. Like you belong in jail, etc." And then I tweeted first, and then I checked the profile later, and it was like a satire account. Mali. Okay, so delete.
Yeah.
But like, things like that, yes, madadala ka talaga ng emotions. It's understandable, but there is also it's possible to delete. Number two, you can issue a retraction and say na, I was wrong. This was the wrong information. Don't take my word for it. Because like there will be times na magkakamali ka talaga. And that's okay. There will really be human errors.
Sure.
But make sure you correct those errors because there are people who will take your word for it.
Exactly.
Madami talaga. It's
We
a
have a word
habit.
for that. We have a term for that. We call it timeline hygiene. Make sure you clean up your timeline.
Yes.
No? Timeline mo, linis mo. Don't allow fake news or misinformation to proliferate on your timeline. If it's from someone you know, then reach out to them. Tell them to correct it, take it down, what you're doing now. If it's from that auntie of yours who is Shawera and telling you,
Or a tita.
or a tita that's telling you that there's a black hole in the center of the earth or something.
There is ba? I don't know. Let's check.
Ayan. So just engage them politely. Don't get into a fight, but do not allow falsehood to proliferate on your timeline. And that's your individual contribution. Okay, apart from obviously voting.
But that's also, that has something to do with feelings. Kasi, syempre, tita mo yon, related or friend mo yon. But actually, if you look at it guys, it's the mindset Like, it's my friend. So parang, that's it It's the way you talk. It's the way you put out your words there. If you say it with all kindness, and because you just really want her also to be educated about it, you never look, you don't like, speak as if like you're so perfect and almighty and all.
Exactly.
So but that's it. The more it's your tita, because the more I get upset when they're like, kasi ano ko siya nakakahiya, wag na lang. So lalo na yung humaba na ng humaba yan, and then they take over the situation.
Kunyari, malita kang flat earther.
But you know what? I found out that there's already flat earthers all over the globe.
Oh,
I saw that.
You saw what he did?
I saw that. There was a post on the Flat Earthers page, like, see, there are flat earthers all around the globe. And
All
the
around.
reply was, say that again, but slowly.
Yeah. So ganun, I mean, don't let that proliferate on your timeline. And if you find it or if you come across it, then say something about it. Tama yung sinasabi ni Cesca. You can delete, obviously, but you can also report. You can report it to these platforms. These platforms have have report mechanisms.
Yes, yes.
Don't be disappointed pag hindi sila naniwala sa'yo. But, do your bit. Do your bit.
Yeah. So, in answer also to what's the role of the individual, actually the entire process lies on the individual.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So this is by us and for us,
Right.
and yeah, for the future and for the nation, and you just gotta be really patriotic
Yeah,
and think about others, not just yourself.
that's true.
Yeah. So, and there was another question that, Goy, what is it? Is registering to vote gonna make you lose weight?
Yes. That's the question. Will I lose weight by voting?
Yeah.
No, but
It's a way of saying, it's a rhetorical question.
Yeah.
Kanina saying na parang, ano, yayaman ba ako dyan?
Papayat na ako dyan? Papayat na ako dyan?
Like, what's in it for me?
Yeah.
The thing is, what's in it, in my opinion, is that it gives you that empowerment. It makes you practice, because once you register, makikita mo na, well, meron pala akong say dito, and then you feel more like part of the country, and then your life also, you feel more in control of it, because you're only supposed to control the things you can, which is mostly about you yourself. So you're also going to be like, be more aware of what's good for you. So that whole process, I think it's really like, yes, papayat ka.
Actually, if I may,
Yeah.
papayat ka talaga. Look up.
Mag-even tatayo ka.
Ganito.
Bibigla ka.
Bakit ka mataba?
Wait, may matatamaan na.
Okay lang yan. Okay lang yan kasi mataba ako, so I know whereof I speak.
Okay.
Ba't ka mataba? Two things yan. I mean, a lot of reasons. Really.
Yeah.
Assuming it's not glandular, no? It's probably stress eating, and it's probably because you eat junk food, right? You drink sugary drinks, you eat Cheetos for breakfast or whatever.
New brand. Wow.
Okay, so no commercials. Okay.
Yes.
So, just two of the many reasons. Now, remember, when you vote for people who put policies in place. And these policies determine things like the availability of sugar drinks in the market. They determine the availability of, say, junk food in the market. They determine your ability to earn enough money so that you buy healthy food instead of junk food. Because kung wala kang pera, bili ka na lang ng burger, right? And burgers make you fat. So, no hate on the burgers, right?
No hate, no worries.
No hate on the burgers. But that's the reality. A lot of people don't get that there's a connection between their everyday life, as ordinary sounding as, let's say, losing weight, that it has a connection to politics. Because ultimately, what you can do as a person, as an individual, is shaped in large part by the policies that the government puts in place. If the government were to say strictly no sugary drinks in schools, then you're creating a generation of kids who are not in love with sugary drinks, and they'll be healthier for it. They'll probably be leaner for it. They'll probably be better all around for it. But that takes you voting, because if you don't vote, then you can't change anything. One of the things that people are obsessed with, Singapore, for instance. Did you know that Singapore used to have consumptory laws that mandated that people should have an egg every day? That's the reason why when you go to any mall in Singapore, and of course this is fuzzy, but maybe it's probably apocryphal, but one of the reasons why, if you go to any mall in Singapore, if you go to any food court, their meals always have an egg. Lahat yan, may kasamang isang itlog yan. Because at one point, they had sumptuary laws that said, so that people will be healthy, let's put an egg in every meal. Let's require people to have eggs in every meal. Again, this policy is the result of people being voted into office who believed in that sort of thing. Just like right now, we have policies that say no smoking in public. And that's healthy living, right? And that was put in place by a politician who was elected into office. So yung sinasabi niyong, you think you're being cute? Well, you are. But
That was him.
but there's also really a grain of truth to
True,
that.
yeah.
You pick the right people, and they will make things change for you. one of the things that I'm really pushing for is an awareness of climate change,
Yes.
Yes.
the climate emergency,
Yes.
and the climate emergency is damn political, man. I mean,
Yeah.
when you elect the right people into office, then you'll have a government that will have a more climate responsive set of policies. You'll have a government that is more flexible to meet the demands of climate crises, like what happened with Rolly and Ulysses, and all of these changes, they start with a single voter, right? That's just you. So make sure that this is not as pointless as it may seem, because it really does matter.
Right.
It does.
Galing, no?
We're actually hitting the 1 hour mark
We
in a
are.
bit.
Yes.
That was awesome.
Good.
Hopefully we can have James come back for another
Yes.
episode, because
Sure.
again, if we already have we already have Goyo as one of our experts, and we would love to have you back.
No problem. No problem. Anytime.
Yeah, I hope you're enjoying.
Yes.
So you come back again, because there's so many topics to touch
So
on. and
many.
Sure.
It's not enough, and people have to get used also. To,
And don't
like,
forget to register early.
Yes,
Yes.
conversing with us.
What's the website again, James?
It's okay. Here's the thing. HTTPS. Don't forget the S.
Yes.
Colon // irehistro.comelec.gov.ph.
Okay.
www.irehistro will not work. Okay. HTTP colon // irehistro will not work.
Okay.
It's only HTTPS colon // irehistro.comelec.gov.ph. That's the only URL that will work. So don't be suckered into those other websites.
Phishing website. Yeah.
Some of them are phishing websites. Some of them, they're just made up to look like us. So be aware.
All right.
With
Thank
that,
you so
thank
much,
you very much.
James.
Sure.
And
Guys,
of course,
thank you very much for
before we-
joining us.
Floramel and Endo, Grace, Tina, everyone else who tuned in today, thank you for joining us. We will be back next Tuesday. So this is going to happen every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Our original plan was 6 episodes, but
Yeah.
I don't know, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Let's start with 6 first.
There we go. We'll see.
Yeah, so don't forget to get in touch with us throughout the week before we come back on Tuesday, so that we have more pointers to discuss and questions to answer.
Right, send your questions in.
Yeah,
Yes.
make it a practice. Come on,
And
start
then-
your mindset.
Like, share, and subscribe.
Yes.
Yes.
No,
And no-
Hi guys, welcome to my channel. I want Goyo to open next time.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's okay lang yan.
Like, share, and subscribe.
Neither do we. Like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell.
Guys, thank you very much.
Thank
Have a good
you.
afternoon. Stay safe, stay healthy.
Bye.
Bye bye.